What's up, guys? Behind me is my 2006 F150 5.4 liter with a 4x4. Today we are doing a high pressure power steering line replacement. Previously I did the power steering pump a couple months ago, and I think I wanted to replace the high pressure power steering line, but I had purchased the wrong one because this truck has a sensor in the middle of the line. So I threw the truck back together because I needed it, and lo and behold, it leaks. So we're going to fix it today. There's a couple videos on YouTube that I had watched on how to do this, just to see if there was a different route. And there's one guy where he put the truck on a lift and does everything from underneath. I don't think that'll work for my scenario, so this is the way you'd remove the power steering pump as well as get access to that line. So I'm taking everything off through the top and going in that way. So let me show you what we got. Reference, here's our new high power pressure steering line. Bought it from O'Reilly's, like $70. This is the little access port we need for the sensor. It also comes with a plug in case your truck doesn't offer it. But at the truck, you can see we've already taken off the air intake, and then we've taken off this plastic panel. All this stuff's really easy. The clutch fan, we're taking that off now, which is the hardest. I recommend there's a kit, wherever the wrench went, right here. There's this, and then this bar, which I dropped right here. You can get it off Amazon for like 30 bucks. One holds the leverage of the, one holds it while you spin the other. So this locks up on the bolts on the power steering pump as you, on the clutch fan as you turn it and spin it. And you can see we have ours already loose and it's unthreading. But with these trucks, you have to pull out the shroud and the fan at the same time. So to pull out the shroud, there's two bolts, one on each side. One's right here. I believe they're both 8mm. And then there's one also over here, and we're gonna loosen those up. And then it just kind of sits in these little grooves. So we'll pull them up and out together, and then we should have access to the whole front of the engine. Which, if you guys have done timing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, I was able to sneak the clutch fan out through the front, and then I'd recommend pulling off this bracket's two 13mm bolts to make easier access to pull the shroud right out. Okay, and here you have it. Now we have full access. Here's our line right here with the bracket holding it down. Our sensor is right beneath it right there. There's a bracket holding it on right here. I believe that's 15. And then it goes to the back of the power steering pump. There's three 10mm bolts on this. And then to our rack down below, which we may have to go through the side, but I believe that's also 10mm bolt. Last time when I did the pump, I removed the oil filter for easier access. You may have to do that. All right, here's a little progress update. Pulled this line off, zip tied it up. There's three 10mm bolts on this. So we're doing those now. I pulled off the filter, and I also removed the filter drip tray, which is also two 10mm bolts. I did already take out that bolt for the bracket, which is 8mm. So right now I'm just getting access. This is the high pressure line to the pump, which you can see right here is a 18mm bolt. And if you have a crow's foot, which I don't, may be able to get access to it. So I'm just taking the whole pump off. All my bolts are easy since I just had it off recently. But yeah, that's the plan. Once the pump's off, then I'll disconnect the line from the pump side. It'll all be free, and then once the pump's out of the way, it'll give me more access to get to the rack side of that line. And then with the rack side free, I will put that on the rack side of the line on before I put the pump back on. Okay, here's an update. We have our new line installed on the steering rack. And here's our old line. I had to use heat and beat the living shit out of it. Where is it? Right here. To get it off. And my suspicion of the leak is at this side of the seal. So hopefully all is well. Here's the pump all out. We're going to clean this up before we put it back in, so that we can detect or make sure we fix the leak. We switch over the sensor while the line was out. That was 9/16. I tried 15mm, but it was 9/16. I'm gonna throw some dielectric grease on there before we put it back together. And then the way I just held the pump here and loosened it like that. This is 18 mil. And this is the way I chose to do it. Now keep in mind, I've lost all the fluid. It's all pissed on the ground. And then when I opened up that side off the rack pissed all the fluid. So you will need some, I believe it's Mercom 4, to refill everything. But now everything is just the opposite of the way you took it off. Like anything, rinse and repeat. All right, guys, as you can see, we have the pump back in. The high pressure line is back on. The last thing I need to do is connect that connector. I already put dielectric grease on it. I had to transfer over this bracket from the old line because the new one had a hole too small and already had everything installed when I went to put it back on, and the drill just took it for a ride, so I just removed that bracket and put it on this one. So everything's back in as far as the high pressure line goes. Pump's back on. And then lastly, I just need to put everything back together and then add power steering and bleed the system. Folks, there you go. Truck's all back together. I just need to bleed it, which unfortunately I don't have any fluid on hand. So I just added the half a quart I had in the garage, and I'll go and pick some up, and then it's just full lock to full lock. Keep in mind, this does take Mercom 5 tranny fluid, not actual power steering fluid. And everything's back in. Serpentine's belt's back on. You can see the new line down here. So yeah, there it is. A couple things to keep in mind. Power steering line is on. We used a 15 mil, 13 mil, 10 mil, and the 10 mil ratcheting wrench, in my opinion, is best for getting the pump on and off the top pump bolts. And then I used a deep 10 mil socket with a small ratchet to get the lower one off. It's a very tight spot. It's a pain. That's the way I did it. And doing that, obviously we lost all our fluid. You could try to get a crow's foot 18 mil and do it with leaving the pump on. Each their own. And then right now it's about 1 p.m. I started this about 9:30, so it's a 4 or 5 hour job, especially since I'm in New England and everything's rusty and crusty. And I spent a good 45 minutes just beating off the previous high pressure line where it meets the rack. So keep all that in mind. Parts about $77 or $60, $70, something like that. And those are the tools you'll need. And I'd recommend getting the clutch fan toolkit. You can get them on Amazon. I think I paid $25, $30 for it a while back just to have it on hand. That's going to wrap it up. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Like, comment, subscribe.